If you want to be a billionaire, do this. Like and subscribe to my podcast. I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick, and I talk about a whole slew of topics on this podcast. I talk about dating, I've talked about politics, I've talked about current events, you name it. Why will you become a billionaire if you listen to this podcast? Let me tell you. But first, let me tell you who I am. My name is Nick Williams. I'm also professionally known as J.N. Gould. No, that is not my stripper name. Before anybody asks me that question, I don't know why you would think it would be my stripper name, but it is not my stripper name. I am an actor, a screenwriter, a producer. I am an attorney. I'm a recovering attorney. And I do all kinds of things. I'm just sort of an active person. Now, why will you become a billionaire if you listen to this podcast? Here's the truth of the matter. You will become a billionaire if you listen to this podcast because you will be so frustrated that I am making this podcast that you will be inspired to go out and create your own business that earns $1 billion. You hear how stupid that sounds, right? You hear how stupid that sounds. I'm going to probably get 3,000 views just from saying billionaire at the beginning of this podcast. It's insane. We all today are looking for just that quick fix of that hit, that answer to the question. It's going to give us something that we can really hook onto and grow from. We're all sort of desperate. And not necessarily desperate in a bad way or desperate in a way that we're, falling apart at the seams. But we're looking for that edge. Everybody wants that edge. They want the biohack. They want the financial hack. It's all hacks. We're trying to hack everything. It's no. Most things in life are pretty simple. How do you become a billionaire? You earn $1 billion. And how do you earn $1 billion? Without getting into the ethical issues of if there are ethical billionaires or not, I'm not going to touch that topic. The way you earn $1 billion is simply by starting a business, taking a risk, and investing. I'm crossing my arms because I'm a little sensitive about my body in this shirt. You have to take risk to make that much money, right? You have to take risk. It doesn't matter if you're doing manufacturing, if you're running a bookstore. You have to be the person in charge who's taking the financial risk in order to grow your money, in order to grow into that level. If you're investing in stocks, you're taking the risk. Now, some people would say, well, investing in stocks, that's not really earning $1 billion. Well, sure, but writing a best-selling novel that takes off is completely dependent on the tastes of the time you're in. Some novels are very, very good, but they were written in the wrong time. They were ahead of their time. They were behind their time, whatever. Everything in life is some kind of risk. Now, when you work for a company or you work for somebody else, and again, this is not a bad choice, but working for somebody else is a mitigation of risk. You are accepting a salary and mitigating the risk that you will lose that salary. So long as you do your job and you do it to the best of your ability, well, you can always talk about going above and beyond, but let's just say you do the job to the best of your ability, you can reasonably expect that you will continue to receive that salary. If you are a business owner and you run the business to the best of your ability, you might suck at running a business and your business might fall apart and you may not have a business anymore and you would lose everything. So how do you become a billionaire? You, as I said, have to take risks, number one. Number two, you have to mitigate those risks. Now, we just talked about how employees mitigate risks. They're taking a salary and not worrying about investment in the company. Now, you have to mitigate the risks you take if you're going to become a billionaire. You have to mitigate those risks while taking them. So how do you do that? Well, for one thing, in the early going, you don't spend a ton of money on very flashy things. You don't see a ton of billionaires who became billionaires over their lives with really, really nice cars at the early going, right? Jeff Bezos was driving like a Toyota something or other, a 1995 Toyota something or other in like 2001 when he was getting Amazon off the ground. The trap is that on the way to earning that much money, you want to look like you already have that much money. So you buy the Gucci and the Prada and the whatever. Those are all traps. Those are all just, they're not assets. They're all just junk at the end of the day. And I say junk, but I don't mean that to sound like I'm saying like, they're horrible and they're junk and whatever. If you like nice things, buy nice things. But you have to balance buying nice things with having enough money to mitigate the fact that you're taking a big risk to try and earn $1 billion. So on the way to $1 billion, you mitigate that risk by being frugal, right? Now, if you're 20 years old and you have $1 billion, I have no advice for you. I don't know how to live your life. You're living a different life than me. You go. You have $1 billion. Go do what you want. You're 20 years old with $1 billion. And, man, this shirt is not appealing on me. I'm just going to cover that up. My Aunt May will appreciate that. Where was I? If you're 20 years old and you have $1 billion, do what you want to do. But if you're 20 years old, you're trying to earn $1 billion, then you really want to focus on being very, very frugal and focusing most of your money into assets, things that will appreciate and grow. That might be real estate, that might be stocks, that might just be your own company. What else do? You get lucky. Long and short of it, $1 billion is a metric crap ton of money. And I mean a metric crap ton of money, like a mind-boggling amount of money. It is an absurd amount of money. $1 billion. My dad explained it to me once, what you earn essentially on the interest, but if I have my laptop open, I'm not going to bother to do the mental math. My dad can do the mental math because he's much smarter than me. But let's say you have $1 billion and you're in your usual kind of savings account, and let's say you're earning 1% interest, maybe. So you're earning 1%. So 1% of $1 billion is 1 followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. It's $10 million. That's $10 million a year at 1% interest. You put $1 billion in a bank account, you earn $1 million a year in just the interest alone. And that's assuming that you just have it in a bank account and you don't have it in the stock market somewhere and you can't take advantage of all the ridiculous little tax loopholes that billionaires can take advantage of. And it's assuming you only have $1 billion flat. If you have $1 billion, that's an insane amount of money. So the answer is, what do you do to make $1 billion? You get extremely lucky. You get extremely lucky. You could make a metric crap ton of money without making $1 billion. You can do very, 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 very well in life and never make $1 billion. That's how you make $1 billion. You take risk, you mitigate risk, and you get lucky. I can't tell you what the industry is that's going to make you $1 billion. I can't tell you what the timeline looks like for you to earn $1 billion, because it's different for everybody. It's going to be different for you. It's going to be different for me. And honestly, with inflation, who knows what $1 billion is going to be worth in 10 years anyway? You might be, this podcast this time next year might be talking about how to make $1 trillion, how to make a Google amount of dollars. And a Google is a real number. Look that up. Do you want to make $1 billion? I don't know. If it's something you want, take risks, mitigate risks, and get lucky. But as the advice I often get goes, you can only get lucky if you're trying.